Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So start with text 1. Arjuna Vacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Puna Yogam Cha Samsit Yakshaya Eta Ekam Tanme Brihitsu Nitatam.
Hare Krishna, my humble obeisances to everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?"
Text 2 Shri Bhagavan Vacha Sanyasaha Karma Yogascha Nishres Sakarabhubo Tayostu Karma Sanyasaka Karma Yoge Vishishyate.
The personality of Godhead replied, "The renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work."
Text 3. Naya sa nitya sanyasi yona devasti natkangshati nirvado hai mata paho sukam vadahat pramujjate.
One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna.
Text 4 Sankhya Yogo Pruthak Kalaha Pravadantina Pandita Ekamapyasthita Samyag Ubhayora Vindate Phalam.
Could you scroll up a bit, please, Mataji? Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both.
Yat sankhya pratyestatham tad yoge apikam yate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha ya prashati sapasyati.
One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are.
Text 6 Sanyasastu Mahabaho Dukhamaptu Mayogata Yoga Yukto Munir Brahma Nachirena Digachati.
Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay.
Text 7. Yoga yukto visuddhatma vijatma jitandriyaha sarvabhutan nama putama karvam apina lipyate.
One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled.
Text 8-9 Naiva Kinchita Karomiti Yukto Manyeta Tattvavita Pashyanam Shanvan Rishan Jigran Ashnan Gachan Svan Sam Pralap Pralapan, Vishajan, Grahnan, Unmishan, Nimishan, Indriyani, Indriyateshu, Vartanta, Iti Darayan.
A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all, because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them.
Text 10. Brahmane adarya karmani sangam tyaktva karot yatiha lipyatena sa papena padma patram ivam basaha.
One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water.
Text 11. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalayarindriye yoginaha karma karvanti sangam tyaktva tvashuddhaye.
The yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification.
Text 12. Yukta karma tyaktva santim apnoti nishtikam ayukta karma karena phale sakto nibadyate.
The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all activities to me, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled.
Sarvakarmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare puredehi naiva karvanna karayan.
When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done.
Text 14. Na kartvin na karmani lokshya shajati prabhuha na karma phala samyogam bhavastu pravartite.
The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature.
Nadate kasya chitpapam nachaive sukrutam vibhu agnanena vrutam jnanam ena mohyanti jantava.
Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge.
Text 16. Jnanena tu tad ajnanam yesham nistim amanha tesham adityavat jnanam pakrashati tat param.
When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime.
Tadbuddhaya stadatma tannisthastat parayanaha Gacchanti apurnar avratim jnana nirtuta kalmasha.
When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation.
Text 18. Vidya vinya sampane brahmane gavihastani sunichaiva sunichaiva sapahecha panditaha samadashinaha.
The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater outcast.
Iheva tairjita sargo yesham shamye thitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani prestitaha.
Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman.
Text 20. Na
Praharsyet priyam
prapya
prapya nodvijeta prayapya kapriyam sthira buddhi asamudo brahmavida brahmani sthitaha.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence.
Bahyasparshesva saktama vindatani yat sukham sabrahmayoga yuktana sukham kshaya ushnite.
Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme.
Text 22. Yehi samspara jabhoga dukheya yonta evate adhyadventa teya natestu raman buddha.
An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them.
Shaknoti haiva yaha sodu praksharira vimokshanat kama krodho tvam vegam sayuktaha sa sukhiraha.
Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world.
Yon taha sukho tara aramas tathantar jyotir evaya sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto digachati.
One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. he is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme.
Labante Brahmani Vanam Vishaya Krishna Kalmashaha Chinta Devanta Yata Mataha Manaha Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha.
Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme.
Kama krodha vimuktanam yatinam yatachetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam.
Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future.
Sparshan krutva bahir bahyam chakshus chaiva tare bruvaha pranapan nau samau krutva nashabhiyan taracharinau yatendriya namo buddhir munir moksha parayanaha vigatecha bhaya krodho yaha sada mukta evasaha.
Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated.
Oktaram Yagnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheswaram Sridam Sarvabhutanam Gnatmamam Santim Richiti.
A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Santosh Mataji and Girish Prabhu. That was an excellent recitation. Thank you so much. And also one Mataji was reciting. Thank you so, so much. So I'll just bring up today's verse. Okay, is the verse visible? 5.11, Veda base?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, thank you so much. So first of all, today I am covering again one exalted devotee who is busy doing other service. So I've just learned today. The only difference is like an hour and a half ago that I have to help out. So please bear with me. I do not have any slides because within 1 hour it's not possible to prepare slides, but I will try to do whatever I can with your blessings, with blessings of Guru, Acharya and Srila Prabhupada. So we'll start with our recitation of Mangala Charan prayers, and if you can all please join with me. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanath Swamini Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhate Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Om Tat Krishna. So the verse today is 5.11. We are discussing. I'll recite the verse. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalayendriyairapi yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva tvam shuddhaye. Synonyms are kayena, with the body, manasa, with the mind, buddhaya, with the intelligence, kevalai, purified, indriye, with the senses, api, even, yogina, Krishna conscious person, karma, actions, kurvanti, they perform, sangam, attachment, tyaktva, giving up, atma, of the self, shuddhaye, for the purpose of purification. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The yogis abandoning attachment act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. And the purport is, when one acts in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the senses of Krishna, any action, whether of the body, mind, intelligence, or even the senses, is purified of material contamination. There are no material reactions resulting from the activities of a Krishna conscious person. Therefore, purified activities, which are generally called sad achar, can be easily performed by acting in Krishna consciousness. Sri Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.187 describes this as follows. Ihayasya harirdasye karmana manasa gira nikhila swapyavasthasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. A person acting in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, in the service of Krishna, with his body, mind, intelligence, and words, is a liberated person, even within the material world. Although he may be engaged in many so-called material activities, he has no false ego, for he does not believe that he is this material body or that he possesses the body. He knows that he is not this body and that this body does not belong to him. He himself belongs to Krishna and the body too belongs to Krishna. When he applies everything produced of the body, mind, intelligence, words, life, wealth, etc., whatever he may have within his possession to Krishna's service, he is at once dovetailed with Krishna. He is one with Krishna and devoid of the false ego that leads one to believe that he is the body, etc. This is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So till now, we can see that, just to quickly revise, this chapter is titled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And the chapter started by first was Arjuna's question, whether sannyas or karma yoga, whether renunciation work, or he should give up the work or work with detachment. And then verse 2 to 6 was about karma yoga is equal to but easier than sannyas. So renunciation and working in the spirit of renunciation are same, but for Arjun, working is better because premature renunciation or tyaga is distressful. And then verse 7 to 12, 7 to 16 is about performing Nishkam Karma Yoga that frees one from bondage. And out of that, verse 7 to 12 specifically talks about characteristics of a Yoga Yukta who's working but with detachment. So he is not entangled, he is self-controlled, he is doer yet non-doer, works for the Supreme with detachment, and he is seeking purification, and thus he attains peace. So in this verse specifically, if we read here the translation and the purport that we read, it is talking about whatever activity the yogi is doing. First of all, he is abandoning the attachment to its fruits or the work itself, and he is acting with his body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. So I could see here that how much stress is given here too, that all these activities are done to purify. What happens when we purify? I mean, what is the goal of life? Prema Pumartho Mahan. So goal of life is to attain love for Krishna. And how will that happen? The love for Krishna, if we purify, because we want to sit Krishna in our heart, right? So if we want to say put Krishna in our heart, then if in our heart there are anarthas, because we are living in this material world, we are bound by the modes, and our senses are governed by the mode. So it is obvious that we all have different kinds of anarthas within us. So we cannot sit Krishna in the heart where there are anarthas, because Krishna will not share the seat in our heart with the anarthas. So first of all, if we remove them from our heart, then we can sit Krishna nicely there. And that means purification. So what happened is that because I was given this, and then I had heard one beautiful lecture of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. So then I thought with just this very short notice, what we can do, and this has worked out really well, because Maharaj here in this lecture talks about purification of heart. That is the theme and the subject of his lecture. So then we will discuss from there. So Maharaj says that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a beautiful verse. And sorry, I've not got everything here on the screen, so I'll read from my Bhagavatam copy here. And that verse is 1.2.8. Dharma svanushtitha pumsam vishvaksena katha suyaha notpadayed yadiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. And the translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. And from the purport of this beautiful verse, Srila Prabhupada explains, and Radhanath Maharaj says that what this means is that whatever occupation or duty, if it leads to the realization that the eternal soul is part of Krishna, and the natural function of the soul is to develop an eagerness and taste to hear the glories of Supreme Lord, to chant glories of the Lord, and to be the servant of the Lord. And any work we do that does not culminate in this realization is Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. It is considered to be simply waste of time. And then he goes on to ask a question, which is, how is this possible? Because, okay, we read this verse, the translation and what Srila Prabhupada explains, but is it that simple? How is this possible in this world to always engage in yoga or in religion? So we all have this question. So then he goes on to explain that in Bhagavad Gita and in Srimad Bhagavatam, these great scriptures and along with the teachings of Guru and Acharya, what do they all do? They teach us that the practical method by which we can throughout the day, without necessarily changing the profession of our life, how to be always be connected to God through the process of bhakti, devotion, or at our level, my level, Nishkam Karma Yoga to begin with. So when we've heard before that when Nishkam Karma Yoga matures, that is the knowledge and detachment, then all the activities we do, it is done as an offering. The fruits are offered to Krishna only. And then it culminates into Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, which is devotion. And Srila Prabhupada translates Bhakti not just exactly a devotion. He calls it devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada has always stressed this, that service is very important along with the devotion, not just our emotional bonding or connection with Lord, but along with that service is very, very important. So by the way, as I am speaking, please do interrupt if you have any realization to add, or you can please speak. So please do that. So then saying Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is very curious to know, and he's telling Lord Shri Krishna, as we have seen till now, that my Lord, my responsibility to society as a Kshatriya, I am a military man, I'm a soldier, and before me in this battle, there are so many souls, including my own grandfather, my own teacher on one side, and other side, my beloved brothers. Would it not be better for me to renounce this so-called duty and just become your devotee? And Lord Shri Krishna explains that there is a need for Kshatriyas, there is a need for military man, but the greatest need there is a need for a Kshatriya to perform his duty in God consciousness. So after all, we can see that what's happened on the other side of the battlefield. There is Dushasan, there is Duryodhan, and you all know that the story that they all were using weapons, they were doing military duties, and so was Arjuna. Arjuna was also seated on a chariot, and he was also using weapons, and he was also fighting. So physically, there is no difference in what they are doing, but the only difference was in their consciousness. So Duryodhan, his brothers and friends, they wanted to fight that war to satisfy their own motivations, their own greed and pride. We know, we've seen throughout that how Duryodhan wanted power, he wanted control, and all of them, they just wanted to enjoy the kingdom. That was their motive to fight the war. On the other hand, we can see that Arjuna did the same fighting the war, the same duty, but he was also firing the arrows, he was riding on a chariot, he was organizing military phalanx. But the difference was his motive, his consciousness. He did it out of service to Lord Shri Krishna, he did it out of humility, he did it in devotion to Shri Krishna. So, and he did it all in harmony with the will of the Lord. So whatever in the same way we can now apply, we started with this question that how do we live like this? What the translation says here, how to live without, with a detachment and as a devotion to Lord. So here is, Maharaj says that whatever is our occupation, whatever is our ashram or our varna, if we perform that activity in the spirit of devotion, in a spirit of humility, in a spirit of seva, that is yoga. So that is religion, and that is connecting to Supreme Lord Krishna through our duties. So if we see the other processes of yoga, for example, Dhyan Yoga, say, for example, someone is following that as a sadhaka, then they are sitting and they are meditating. But when they come out of meditation, they have to go back to their work. So there are two lives. One is working life, one when they are doing meditation. So in the same way, say somebody is doing performing puja. And when that is done in the morning, their daily duties, they have to go back to their other duties, their other work, what is prescribed. So then there are two lives. But the sweetness of bhakti, which is connected to this verse about what bhakti does, is that it purifies us. And what happens is everything is integrated. So it's not talking about two separate lives. It is saying that whether we are meditating, whether we are doing puja, whether we are chanting our japa, say whether we are doing kirtan, or we are doing our work in the office, or say somebody is on an agriculture farm, or somebody is in a factory, it is all for the same purpose, which is again explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.13, and I will read from my Bhagavatam here. Ata pumbhir duja shrestha varnashrama vibhagashah swanushtistasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. So translation is, O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. So then Maharaj explains that whatever we do, if it is offered in service of Krishna, in pleasure of God, that is perfection of yoga. And we should never think that by offering our consciousness and by offering the fruits of our consciousness, that by offering our activities, by our words, all of this, if we do, then we will be the loser. No, it's not like that. In fact, we will gain hundreds and thousands and millions of times more, because ultimately all of the things in the world that we can acquire, they are perishable. They are here today and gone tomorrow. There is a beautiful bhajan by this great poet Govind Das Kaviraj, and I don't have that bhajan to share, but I think it starts with, let me look on my phone. Bhajahure mana Shri Nandanandana Bhayacharara Durlabha Manava Janama Satsange Tarohi Bhava Sindhure. And in there is this very good verse number 3, where it says Kamala Dalajala Jivana Talamala Vajahu Haripada Nitire. So Kamala Dalajala Jivana Talamala, that just as a water drop, it appears on a lotus leaf for a moment and next moment it slips away, right? So that is the nature of all my attachments in this world. That's what this poet is saying. That, and he goes on to explain in his bhajan, the main theme is that he is saying, I'm an old man. Now my limbs, memory is failing. I am on a threshold of death, and I look back in my life, what I have acquired, what I have worked for, my wealth, my family, my prestige and position, my physical health, all those things that I sacrificed my life to serve. Where are they now? All I have is heart full of pain, frustration, anxiety, and fear. All of these things are like drop of water. And just like on a lotus leaf, how the drop of water is, they appear for a few moments and then they slip away into the ocean of birth and death. So he says, this poet, that how I have wasted my life. what returns I have for the investments of my human energy. Thus, Bhajahu Haripada Nitire. Therefore, to worship Lord Hari, the Supreme Lord, to make him the subject, the goal, the purpose of everything that we do. And the main point is purification. That is the protection of human existence. If we purify ourselves, if we use this human birth for purification. And also in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, everyone knows that there is, when Lord Krishna was living in the Vrindavan Dham, 10th canto, so many beautiful chapters are there, how Krishna kills all the demons. There is one beautiful pastime of fruit vendor, which Maharaj explains that once when Krishna was living in Gokul Mahavan, and then at that time, this fruit vendor comes with a basket full of fruits, and there is no one at home. And Krishna sees these fruits, and he's so little, 1 year old, and he wants these fruits. So at that time, everything was barter system. So say, for example, in Mother Yashoda's house, they have so many grains that they are cultivating grains, and they have so much milk and milk products. So if they want fruits, then they will do barter system. I have this and you have that, so let's exchange. So Krishna goes and he gets grains from the bag of grains that his mother had kept in the storeroom, and he brings in his little feast in his hand the grains. And by the time he reaches to the fruit vendor, we know that everything's slipping away from his tiny hands, and like only 1 or 2 little grains are left. So when this fruit vendor looks at Krishna, she just, from a business point of view, she is the loser if she gives him all the fruits and if there is 1 or 2 grains of wheat. But when she sees the beautiful face of Krishna, how charming, how loving he is, she forgets everything and she gives him whatever he wants. He says, take all you want, And then when she turns to look at her basket, her basket was filled with priceless, valuable jewels. And so the other thing, the contrast is that Krishna's hands are so small here that he can hardly carry some grains. But the same hands, when he was, even a baby, he kills Putana. He kills Trinavat, the demon, right? The whirlwind demon who comes and takes Krishna higher and higher up in the sky. And then Krishna becomes so heavy like a mountain when he can't, keep Krishna on his neck anymore. Then Krishna just kills him with the same tiny hands. They are so powerful. So the same hands that they, destroy this mighty whirlwind demon Trinavat. So the same hand that could not keep all the grains in his hand, how is it possible that so Krishna can do anything? He's supreme. Just for the sake of giving pleasure to his devotees, he appears helpless. And but when the time comes, they all come running to Krishna only, that Krishna save us. We also know this episode of Indra, when he was sending torrents of heavy rains, and how Krishna lifted the Giriraj Govardhan hill. And when they all came under the hill, then they were holding hill with sticks, their own sticks, thinking that Krishna cannot do it himself. So in this way, Krishna accepts position of helplessness before his devotees only to increase their love. So, and we know even Mother Yashoda, she believed that if she won't feed Krishna, he will not survive. So all Krishna's supreme business is not to kill demons, but his business is not to create universes, but his supreme business is to act in such a way, in such a loving and charming way, to attract our hearts, to attract our minds, and to fill us with love. So Krishna Prem is our goal of our life. That should be the goal, Prema Pumartho Mahan. So Krishna came to this fruit vendor with 1 little grain, and then everything gets filled. She can see there are so many priceless jewels, and she became wealthiest. But she realized that those jewels don't simply represent money. Those jewels represent jewels of Krishna's grace, Krishna's mercy, which is eternal. It is infallible wealth, which is beyond birth and death. This was her good fortune, and this was her possession, the grace of the Lord. So in the same way, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj explains that whatever we do, the art of living, loving, is to learn how to offer our every word, our every thought, and our deed in the service of Sri Krishna. And this is not something intangible. This is most practical, applicable science that can be applied to our life at every moment if we simply understand to just change this consciousness in service of Krishna, and that will purify our heart. How here this translation says that the yogi, he abandons attachment, he acts with body, mind, intelligence, even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. So his goal is to purify. And we know in Bhagavad Gita 9.27, I'll read from the Gita I have. Yat karoshi yadasnashi yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi konteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that thus it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together. And Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live. Therefore, he should accept the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious ritualistic ceremony. Therefore, Krishna recommends do it for me, and this is called archana. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra round his beads, he is surely the greatest meditator and the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So yes, whatever we do, whatever we give away, it should be done for as a service to Krishna. And we can take association of devotees, all these activities by the association of devotees, reading scriptures, discussing scriptures, doing various services in Krishna consciousness. That's how we can clean the dust that has accumulated in the mirror of our mind. And once that is the cleansing process starts, the purification process also starts. So, and as a family, we can even come together in our house. We can, together implement the spiritual principles in our own life. We can do the Harinam Kirtan together. We can do various services. We can enlighten whoever we meet. And that would be the greatest perfection of life if in this way we can act. So speaking all this for my benefit, for my purification, for me to learn. And it's 8:35, so that's where I would like to end. Yeah, so this is the way that has been it's a very practical way that we don't give up our duty, we do the duty. But as Arjuna is fighting the war and Duryodhana is fighting, but both sides, the difference is in the consciousness and the reason who's fighting the war for what. One side, there is a need and greed for power and control and wealth and position. Other side, the complete consciousness is to satisfy the Lord, working with the will of the Lord. So, any reflections or any question, or if you can add anything to the verse, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hema Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much. Really good thought-provoking class. Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to add link to service. I was listening to Radhanath Maharaj, and it was really nice what he said was service is mechanical unless we add gratitude to it.
Yes.
So I thought, yes. So I thought it was such a nice thing to remember that it's we can do service, but unless we realize that be grateful of the service that was given to us, then that service is not worth. It's not worth anything really. So it becomes very mechanical. You're just doing it for the sake of it.
Yes, thank you so much, Hema Mataji, for sharing that. Yes, I really like that point, and I would like to repeat that any service that is given to us, we should be grateful that we have got this service given to us, and lots of gratitude to the Lord for that. And if we do it in that consciousness, then that's how we, that's Krishna consciousness.
So
Yes,
it's how you said about Pandavas, their consciousness was at a different level from Duryodhan, and yeah. And the other thing that I heard was Amarendra Prabhu was saying again about service is that our service to Krishna is, what was it? Sorry, our service to Krishna is important, but more important is the intention of serving, is the desire to serve. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Mataji. So you are saying that the service that we do, the desire should be there, the intention should, what is the intention of that service? That sums it all up, isn't it, Mataji? That the selflessness, because that is to purify. If we are serving to please Krishna and devotees, then there is no question of our own selfish motives there, right, Mataji?
That's right. Yes, you mentioned the Anya Bilasha. You just mentioned that. So yes, wonderful. Thank you very much for the class, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please accept my apology. I have no slides, nothing, but I know that other devotees are doing so much service, and if I'm given some service sitting here at home, how can I say no? I felt, yeah, what I'll just take blessings of Srila Prabhupada and just do my bit. And I know with your help we can always discuss the verse. So yes, there is J iPhone. Would you like to share something? You are unmuted. Oh, I thought you are sharing something. Okay. Yes. Any other question before we end the class, or any realization? Anything you want to add to this verse? Also, there is one very important message from Divya Prabhuji, which I will share now. Okay, here. This message had come in the Sankirtana group from, I think this message is from His Grace Vrindavan Chandra Prabhuji, that tomorrow there is a training session for contact Sankirtan. And that is about if you are at home and from home you want to distribute the books or do this service, because of in light of the situation outside, the virus and everything, then this session is very, very useful. It's at 11 a.m. Tomorrow, and the Zoom link and the meeting ID I'll share again in all the chat groups. And here Prabhuji will explain how to do that, and how you can even say share 10 or 12 contacts that you have, that you think that they might be more favorable or inclined into book distribution or would like to know more. So please do join this meeting, and also please share with your friends and relatives who might be interested to join this, to learn how to, because the training will be given by Prabhuji. It's at 11 a.m. tomorrow. So that was one important message I had to share, as Prabhuji had asked. Yes, they will share the strategies and discuss how to distribute books from the comfort and safety of the home. So, okay, if there is nothing more to, there are no more reflections or questions, then we can always end early. It's 8:41. So thank you so much, everyone, for bearing with me and for allowing me to do this service. And thank you for your blessings. And it's really it helps to share something, because I know that all of you are so patient and so enthusiastic and attending every single day chat sessions. So thank you for your service. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyaiva cha
Patitana
patitānaṁ
Pavanebhyo Vaishnava.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Mataji. Wonderful
Thank
service.
you,
Very nice.
Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
कौन है हुआ तो